All right, everybody, we are here to talk Black Panther, and sitting next to me, Ryan Meinerding, Head of Visual Development for Marvel Studios. Ryan, thank you so much for joining us and spending time here.
Oh, of course. Thanks for having me.
So, we're here to talk about Black Panther, and I just, not that I'm kissing your butt, but I am, but just thank you for this just amazing world building and character building that you and your team have done. How was just that experience for you guys?
Working at Marvel Studios is great because every film's a little bit different, and this one was really an interesting experience because creating the whole world of Wakanda felt like a new and interesting challenge. We had previously worked on Asgard, but this one, because it's on Earth, because it's a sort of sophisticated Earth culture, and because it's inspired by African tribal design motifs, it really created a lot of opportunities for cool design.
There's kind of been a term that has been used like Afrofuturism, and Black Panther almost kind of really speaks to that, and it makes it a real thing consistently throughout the movie that people haven't seen. When you guys heard that you're doing Black Panther the movie, were there kind of maybe some specific themes or tent poles that you said, these are the things that we want to make sure like this world feels like?
Black Panther at its core is really, it's meant to be tribal, but it's also meant to be sci-fi. So the combining of those two things are really the two things we were trying to go for, and then trying to look within the tribal African cultures and try to find something that spoke to feeling African, but also could translate into a science fiction world. There's a lot of really amazing visuals from African cultures that haven't been explored too much in film specifically, and I think using that palette to like just tap into was really amazing. I think one of the things you touched on was making the world feel real. I think that's one of the first things we're trying to do, just because there's a lot of sci-fi notions in this movie that if they're not grounded enough, it's not gonna feel real enough for people to take it seriously. Another thing that was really exciting for us, I think, is trying to make the culture of that world feel as real as possible through the regalness of T'Challa and sort of the Black Panther throne. I think all those things mixed together makes for like a really interesting design starting point, and hopefully we fulfilled what people are looking for.
Now, you talked about T'Challa, obviously the main character. We saw him in Civil War, and we've seen this new kind of streamlined costume for Black Panther with new abilities. What is that process like, just designing Black Panther, and what did you want to bring new to the table for this movie?
One of the cool things about characters, once they've already appeared in an MCU movie, we have places to move from, right? So I did the design work for Black Panther and Civil War, and I was really trying to bring in a lot of woven African design themes to make it feel like not only are there African tribal markings and sort of inscriptions and Wakandan language worked into the costume, but the whole suit was meant to feel like it was woven together. It created a sort of layered silhouette and a little bit sort of bulkier. When Ryan Coogler started on the film, he really wanted to streamline that. That was one of the things he was really interested in, is making it sort of this unified singular skin that almost felt like a second skin for T'Challa. And part of that was because it was going to be nanotech, it was going to be so high tech that if it felt layered and like you could see a construction method, it wouldn't really make sense. So in essence, what Ryan really brought to it was the idea of upping the technology of the suit, so it was a higher tech sort of suit than we really have seen on screen in the MCU so far. As well as he had some very specific ideas about the helmet and the mask. The first was to make it not a helmet, to actually integrate the mask with the suit so it felt like one unified thing. And he liked the idea in the more recent run of the comics that was designed by Brian Stilfreeze. There are a few themes from that mask that he really wanted to bring to it. He wanted the ears sort of swept back so it felt like more like an aggressive stance, like a growling panther. He wanted to expose T'Challa's eyes at certain points in the movie so the nanotech could retract and then you could see the actual expression on Chadwick's face. And in the Brian Stilfreeze design of the face, there's this interesting mix of a panther and a man's face, where it's sometimes, depending on how the light catches it, it can either look more like a panther or it could look more like a man. And I think exposing the eyes and then also bringing more of an actual panther face to the mask creates a more African-inspired tribal look to the mask. It feels more like it's meaning to represent a panther, whereas I think the Civil War design was really trying to lean into the Jack Kirby sort of comic look. It's more saying, let's reference the comic character, and the new design feels like it's creating more of a panther idol in some way.
What were some of the big inspirations? I know you talked about Kirby and Stilfreeze. Were there any other kind of runs in the comics that you kind of looked at for whether it was Wakanda or Black Panther, the character, or even other characters in the movies?
For Panther, this time around was really the still freeze art, specifically with the kinetic technology of absorbing energy to be able to deliver a blow with it. And that purple glow really added a cool design theme to him that works so well in the film. I think those are sort of the two touchstones, was Kirby and still freeze. When we got into doing Killmonger, we were looking at a lot of the comic references sort of just touchstones, and then trying to find ways of doing the same sorts of things, but bringing him into more of a, in his first appearances in the movie, to more of a tactical world where he feels like his sort of special forces background is evident. And then he picks up that tribal mask, which feels a lot like the mask that's in the comics. Ryan was really interested in pushing ideas that would look back at those cool comic book roots and try and find ways of transitioning them into more real things. Even like the dreadlocks that Killmonger has in the comics, like I think they got turned into like a really cool, interesting hairstyle for Michael B. Jordan, which is really fun to see.
Ryan Coogler, obviously, you know, he's a comic book reader, he's a comic book geek, and he collaborated a lot with you. Was there a lot of kind of back and forth between you guys? I know this is really a collaborative effort, and you guys create these keyframes and these great, you know, superhero designs and whatnot. How was it working with him overall?
Ryan's amazing. He's a really generous, like, great filmmaker to work for. Brings a lot of fantastic ideas, but he's really willing to listen. And like, if you have a pitch, he'll want to hear it and he'll consider it, and he'll either go with it or he won't. But you know, just having somebody that's there that listens to what you're saying is awesome. And so many of the really great ideas, at least you know, for our part of the process and the visuals, came straight from him.
Is there any character that you personally enjoyed working on the most design-wise that, you know, maybe people might not expect? Because you're the head of Marvel visual development here. What about for you?
One of the things I'm happy that I got in there was this idea of having scarification on his body. And we found a way to sort of integrate that into the Killmonger Panther suit so that it has these bundles of fabric that are meant to represent the scarification on him. Any of the characters are so amazing to see. I mean, in terms of my favorites, how they transitioned, I love the new look for Panther. I love the new look. I love the look of for Killmonger. But Okoye is probably my favorite character in the movie. She's amazing. Anthony Francisco actually did the design work on Okoye and Nakia, and Okoye is just so great.
I mean, she's kind of a badass. Yep. You're like, yep, pretty much. Were there any other just standout parts of this whole process that you enjoyed doing the most?
The production design on the movie is so amazing. There's so many cool and interesting takes on stuff. The waterfall scene, the Jabari tribe sort of like throne. There's so many cool things to bounce off of, and to see all the great ideas they were coming up with. Like, that's probably one of my favorite parts of this, was seeing Hannah working with Ryan to come up with this sort of lookbook of different African-inspired reference, and seeing how that was sort of playing out in the production design and the sets, and then us trying to keep up with it in terms of doing the hero costumes, and how Ruth was able to create an entire culture, you know, out of thin air, really. I mean, she was finding different looks for the different tribes that feel really like interesting and different. So Wakanda, maybe more than any culture within the MCU, feels so real and feels very multifaceted and interesting.
All right, Ryan, well, thanks so much. We want to just highlight this because of all the great work you guys are doing. People that are watching can check out The Art of Black Panther. I know I honestly pre-ordered this for Amazon right now, so I don't have it, but I'm holding it in my hand here. But there's just a lot of great stuff in here showing the concept design that you guys have worked on and just how you evolved this to what we got to see. So thanks so much, Ryan. This is great. Appreciate it.
Awesome.
All right, cool. Thanks.